Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. In a mega Shiv Sena war, there is something for both sides in the verdict given today by the Supreme Court. In a big relief for Shinde government, the Supreme Court declared that status quo ante cannot be restored anymore, as Uddhav Thackeray resigned voluntarily and therefore his government can't be brought back. But the court recognized that both the then Maharashtra governor and speaker did not act in the correct manner. In an indictment of the governor's actions, the court said he had no objective material to doubt confidence, to have any doubt on Uddhav's government, as it was an internal party issue. On the speaker's role, court said the decision to recognize Bharat Gogagle, backed by the Shinde group, as the chief whip was illegal, but left it to the speaker now to decide on the disqualification of the 16 MLAs of the Shinde camp who had defied original party whip. Both the factions of the Shiv Sena have welcomed the apex court's verdict. This is why I said there's something for both sides. The Uddhav camp demanded that Chief Minister Shinde should resign on moral grounds. But on the other side, the Shinde camp claimed that the Supreme Court verdict proves that their government is legitimate. So who comes out looking better from this verdict? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. Take a look at the key takeaways from the verdict though. First, Eknath Shinde-led Maharashtra government stays for now. Takeaway 2, Uddhav government cannot be restored as Uddhav Thackeray himself voluntarily had quit before the floor test. Had the floor test been taken, had he lost, maybe the Supreme Court would have reversed the floor test judgment. Takeaway 3, Speaker to now decide on the disqualification of the MLAs. Takeaway 4, Speaker's decision to appoint Sena whip was illegal. And the court also said governor's actions weren't according to rule of law. In fact, one of the more fundamental things the court has decided upon is this, that a floor test inside assembly cannot be a medium to resolve what is an internal party dispute. This has naturally given ammunition to both sides, so Uddhav Thackeray now claims that Shinde Sarkar has been formed illegally, that they should quit. Shinde camp says the Supreme Court verdict proves that their government is legitimate. While Uddhav camp reminds that whip appointed by the Shinde-faction is now deemed illegal, so all actions thereof seem to be illegal, Shinde camp says that Uddhav Thackeray himself resigned before a floor test because he knew he didn't have any majority. Now Uddhav Thackeray has demanded Shinde government should resign on moral grounds, but Shinde's BJP combine is saying that Uddhav Thackeray cannot preach them on morality. The big question we ask is, there is clearly a respite to the Shinde-BJP combine because their government is not going anywhere. But is this judgment also a fillip, even if a moral one, to Uddhav Thackeray and the MVA partner?
आणि असं म्हटलंय की पॉलिटिकल पार्टीचं व्हिप ऍप्लिकेबल व्हायला पाहिजे. असं झाल्यानंतर पॉलिटिकल पार्टी नेमकी त्या क्षणी कोणत्या गट म्हणजे ती पॉलिटिकल पार्टी याला रेकग्नाइज करायला पाहिजे या संदर्भातला पण निर्णय विधानसभा अध्यक्षांनी घ्यावा.
जैसे सर्वोच्च न्यायालय ने कहा कि अगर मैं रिजाइन नहीं करता, मैं इस्तीफा नहीं देता, तो शायद मैं वापस मुख्यमंत्री बन जाता. मैं मेरे लिए नहीं लड़ रहा हूँ. मेरी लड़ाई जनता के लिए है, मेरे देश के लिए, मेरे राज्य के लिए है.
हम लोगों ने जो सरकार स्थापित किया है वो पूरी तरह से कानून और घटना इसका आदर करते हुए हम लोगों ने किया है. और जो जिनके पास बहुमत नहीं था उन्होंने रिजाइन किया.
First up, I want to go across to Mahesh Jethmalani, senior advocate and BJP Rajya Sabha MP, someone who was the legal counsel for the Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde in this case. Mr. Jethmalani, thanks a lot for your time. would it be fair to say that this victory may be a legal victory for you, but a moral defeat for the Shinde-BJP combine?
No, why? I mean, I don't see why it's a moral defeat for the Shinde combine at all. Shinde-Fadnavis combine at all. I mean, ultimately, politics is about attaining power and retaining it. And the final, and in a democratic form of government, that person which enjoys the majority of the House is the Chief Minister. The most moral principle in this whole situation is who commands the majority. I would say that it was immoral of the other side to cling on to power when they had lost the majority by a process of disqualification, which was completely unwarranted.
But the court is saying...
And the manner in which that disqualification was thought to be steamrolled is to be strongly condemned.
But the court today very categorically has said...
if anything...
Yes?
Sorry?
No, go ahead. Finish.
Go on.
No, I'm saying the reason I ask you that question is because the court has categorically said both on account of the speaker's actions and the governor's actions, they were wrong. They were not in accordance with the rule of law. In fact, the decision on the chief whip was illegal is what the court has said today. So everything that came after that, the fact that Uddhav Thackeray resigned voluntarily, even the court said that they can't do anything because of that. But every action that followed because of the speaker and the governor, the court has frowned upon it.
Which speaker are we talking about?
The Maharashtra speaker, sir, Rahul Narwekar.
Which speaker?
Who recognized Bharat Gogavale as the chief whip.
Rahul Narwekar came after he was a new speaker that, see, for one thing, Rahul Narwekar was a speaker who came in because there was a vacuum. There was never a speaker in this case in the first place. When a new government assumes power, the constitution mandates that you elect a new speaker. He was elected. What did he do wrong?
The fact that one second, I'll tell you. The fact that Bharat Gogavale, backed by the Shinde camp, was appointed as the chief whip. The court said that decision was illegal.
All right, so it was illegal, but what was the impact of that on the outcome of this case? And nothing has happened. Neither Gogavale nor anybody else has taken any decision pursuant to being recognized as a whip.
What about the fact...
It's not immoral. I mean, the speaker, if the speaker has wrongly recognized somebody as the chief whip, it's not an immoral decision. It may be an incorrect decision.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing has, and there's no act of Gogavale or anybody else that has prejudiced Uddhav Thackeray and his minority faction in the Shiv Sena.
But the court also today said, Mahesh Jethmalani, that deciding an internal party dispute on the basis of a floor test was in itself inaccurate or incorrect. And therefore, that brings into question the governor's role, that you cannot decide an internal dispute like this. The governor had no objective material to decide that Uddhav Thackeray had lost majority. And obviously, we know Uddhav Thackeray, politically speaking, resigned because he didn't want to go through the floor test.
Yes. So it's all right. So what they're saying is that the governor acted immorally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the case of everybody? That the governor acted immorally? I don't know. The Supreme Court hasn't used the word immoral.
They've not used the word immoral. That's why I'm not saying so.
Given by the other side now. Yeah. So the other side is saying that this is the action was immoral. No, the governor had certain material before him, right? He thought that the chief minister, based on that material, had lost his majority in the House, right? And he called for a floor test. Now, the court has disagreed with that and said he didn't have enough material. But nobody can say the governor was immoral or acted mala fide.
But that's exactly...
All right, he acted incorrectly. And by the way, on that issue, I respectfully disagree with the governor, with the Supreme Court. I personally believe, in all humility, that the governor had enough material to show that the Uddhav government had lost its majority, and that fact was confirmed by subsequent events. Not only did Uddhav Thackeray not face the floor test because he had lost his majority, but when the new government faced a vote of confidence, right, it won by even more numbers than the MLAs which was sought to be disqualified in unseemly haste by the previous speaker.
Mm-hmm. I'll come to the decision that has been left to the speaker now on the disqualification. But I do want to say that that's precisely the charge. You're also a BJP MP. Precisely the charge against the BJP Shinde combine here is that they steamrolled the processes and propriety in making their government. That governors are acting in cahoots with the BJP in states where, you know, it's favorable to them.
1 minute. Shivani, this is a completely misconceived argument, right? And unfortunately, it stems from some observations which were read out in court today, right? Not condemning anybody, but laying down guidelines for the future and holding certain decisions to be incorrect, right? Immorality in this, right? I mean, to be fair, the issue need not have been gone into at all on the governor's role in this matter, because it was irrelevant. Once the floor test was not faced by Uddhav Thackeray, what difference does it make whether the governor was right or he was wrong? In hindsight, he was established to be right. He was established to be right that Uddhav had lost his majority.
But
So where is the question of the governor being wrong? I mean, the court is entitled to say that on the material it had before it, right? He should not have come to the conclusion that Uddhav had lost its majority. But you know, it's a difference of opinion. The governor is not a trained lawyer. A, B, and there was enough facts, in my respectful opinion, right? Very humbly, right? In my opinion, there was enough material for the governor. I mean, there was an onslaught against all these MLAs. They were not being allowed to come back to the city. They left because they knew they would be persecuted by the previous, by the Uddhav, the MVA government. That did happen. Offices were burned, right?
But the court,
So
even
clearly,
on that,
there
said
was,
that the safety
at
of the MLAs was not a justifiable reason.
For a government which, 1 minute, Shivani, a government which had not lost, for a government which had not lost its majority, to indulge in those kind of actions was grossly immoral, according to me.
Okay. I was just mentioning that the court even went into that issue, that the safety of the MLAs was not a justifiable reason to do what the governor did. But you've made your point. The reason I'm asking you is a political question. The court has not used the word moral or immoral. But because this political fight is ensuing now, you must have heard that Uddhav Thackeray is saying that your government is immoral, morally should not stand. How would you respond to that?
Sorry.
Uddhav Thackeray is saying that on moral grounds, Shinde and BJP government should resign.
Well, I mean, you know, please, when Uddhav Thackeray talks about morality, I want to remind him that only for the sake of the Chief Minister's chair, he gave up a pre-poll alliance with the BJP, on account of which he got the seats which he got to form a completely unholy majority with unholy government with allies who were ideologically opposed to him, whom he attacked during the course of the campaign and who attacked him during the campaign as well, and who are still attacking him. Today, Sharad Pawar says that he did not have the capacity to be a leader in his biography. So they're still attacking him. I don't know what morality we are talking about. Our sense of morality, my sense of morality and Uddhav Thackeray's sense of morality are completely different. You break a pre-poll alliance, you get your votes by invoking the Prime Minister and the then Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. You get all your votes because of them. Then you use that, you break your pre-poll alliance, and therefore you break the will of the people. You disobey the will of the people. The will of the people was for the BJP Sena government to come into power.
Okay.
You broke that pre-poll allegiance and went in with partners just to become the Chief Minister. That is immorality.
Okay. I just want to ask you a final question, Mahesh Jethmalani, on the issue of the disqualification of the 16 MLAs. That decision has been left to the Speaker. What's your thought over that?
Well, that should be the case. The decision is left to the Speaker, and the court has very rightly, I think, guidelines for the exercise of all constitutional authority, right? All constitutional authorities should be laid down, and the court has very wisely done that. I mean, the court, I welcome that they have laid down guidelines as to what the Speaker should take into account, whom we should recognize as the whip. what sort of timeline he should be following in disposing of these questions. That's all very salutary and welcome. My only grievance with the Supreme Court judgment today is one of on the governor's conduct, because I think there was enough material for the governor, and that's my only area of dispute. And I think that question need not have been gone into, given the fact that the floor test which he ordered, right, had nothing to do with the final outcome of the case.
Okay. Mahesh Jethmalani, I do appreciate you joining us. In some ways, a lot has been settled today, but there are some questions still persisting. I do thank you for your time. Let's also take this to our guest joining us for a debate. Let's go across to Nalin Kohli of the BJP joining us. Sanjay Gupta is Shiv Sena leader from the Uddhav Thackeray faction. Krishna Hegde is the Shiv Sena spokesperson from the Shinde-faction. Let me go across to both the BJP Shinde faction first. I repeat the question, Krishna Hegde, that it sounds like a moral defeat for you because the manner in which this government came to being, everything that preceded it, the crisis within the Shiv Sena, it seems to have gone the Uddhav Thackeray way today in court.
Shivani ji, I don't know how you are saying it has gone the Uddhav Thackeray way, because firstly, the Honorable Supreme Court has said Eknath Shinde will continue to remain the Chief Minister. Second, they said that the 16 MLAs, the disqualification rests at the hands of the Speaker. Third, they said that this government is going to stay. Fourth, they said that the symbol which we have got, the bow and arrow, the election commissioner decided on merit. Then they've said that this government is legal, it is constitutional, and it holds strength. I would say that it is a moral defeat for Uddhav Thackeray ji, because firstly, he was the one who came into a pre-poll alliance in 2009, evoking the name of Shri Narendra Modi ji, our Honorable Prime Minister, as the leader, and on the basis of Hindutva and with the ideology of Bala Saheb Thackeray ji. It is he who deserted the Hindutva, where his father had categorically stated that जो दिन मुझे कांग्रेस के साथ हाथ मिलाना पड़े तो मैं मेरी दुकान बंद कर दूंगा.
Krishna ji, all of that is fine. Let's stick to the facts of this case. We know the background, and yes, that can be debated separately. But Nalin Kohli, when the court says the governor did not act in accordance to law, the speaker was incorrect when he recognized the new chief whip, does that not mean that the due processes were not followed?
I don't agree with you. Let me give a simpler example for your viewers. In criminal law, we say you are innocent unless pronounced guilty by a court of law. Now, the end of it, in the judgment, what matters is the final view. Is a person held to be guilty or not held to be guilty? If guilty, what is the punishment that follows? So I am unable to understand this line of questioning, respectfully to you, that moral victory, moral defeat, what? Ultimately, there was a government headed by Mr. at that time Uddhav Thackeray. His government didn't have the numbers. He knew he didn't have the numbers. When he didn't have the numbers, he chose to resign. He wants now the court to do for him what he couldn't have done directly himself, which is stay on in government. And the court has clearly said, then you resign, so how do we hold the action of the governor incorrect? It, on the contrary, says the action of the governor with regard to the institution or the formation of the new government is correct. Because the BJP had 106, Mr. Shinde and others were together.
Only so because Uddhav Thackeray resigned.
You are picking up the entire...
Only because Uddhav Thackeray resigned. For no other reason, the court said that this status quo ante cannot be restored.
1 minute. 1 minute. It's not about only. In law, that is the significant point with regard to his relief. In a normal discussion, you can have any discussion under the sun. We can refer to the Ved, Puran, to anything you wish. But in law, we'll have to go by finally what does the Constitution provide? How is that interpreted? And the Supreme Court, in its magnificent power of judicial review, how does it finally give relief at the end of it or deny it? In this case, Mr. Uddhav Thackeray has been denied relief. It's as plain and simple, as blunt as that. He is not to become the Chief Minister after this petition. He continues to be exactly where it is. Mr. Shinde is exactly where it is. He is as Chief Minister. The government is exactly where it is. Now let's go to the other issue, which is what you are talking about, moral. that is qua adjudication by the governor on a party issue. It is not on a government issue. And the Supreme Court essentially is saying, you needn't have got into that zone based on the materials that the Supreme Court has seen. Now let us come one by one. Ultimately, a governor, who's a constitutional position, or the Honorable Supreme Court, which is a constitutional court, will look at the materials before it and then interpret it what a reasonable man with a reasonable approach would do. Now I look at it, and this is my point of view, that I look at it that there is a situation where the majority have walked away from Mr. Thackeray. Whatever they may say, Mr. Thackeray's continuation in the government without having the majority is an illegality on democracy.
Okay.
Can a minority government hide behind technicalities when it doesn't have the numbers? And he resigned and proved that so. Otherwise, he would have gone for the floor
I'll
test.
come to you with the central question I want to ask the BJP today. But let me give the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction leader Sanjay Gupta also an opportunity. Sanjay Gupta, effectively, the fact that Uddhav Thackeray resigned, उन्होंने floor test ना लेने की बजाय resign करने का फैसला किया, ये backfire हुआ है उनके लिए. अगर उन्होंने politically floor test लिया होता, तो शायद उनको आज relief मिलता. Looks like I have lost him. Anyways, I'll try and go back across to him. But Nalin Kohli, can
I come for one sentence?
Yes, Nalin Kohli, I have a follow-up question for you. Yes, go ahead.
Again?
Yeah.
Just let me answer that because that's important. It's a good question. That's why I want to take it for a moment. You say, had he not resigned, he may have got from the Honorable Supreme Court relief. Pause. Had he not resigned, he would not have passed the floor test. And he would not have been Chief Minister. How could the Supreme Court then have given him something? So if you ask me whether he resigned or he did not resign, he couldn't have been the Chief Minister, period.
Okay, very quickly, Nalin Kohli, I have 30 seconds only. Could you please answer the question which many of your political opponents raised, that you use governors to your advantage in states where it's favorable to you? That's the sense that comes out because of the observations of the court, regardless of what the final outcome is.
That's been an argument against governors from as far as I can remember. It's been against the government of Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, continues. That's a common argument. So therefore, it's not exclusive to us. So as far as I'm concerned, end of it, judicial review is there. People who are aggrieved by a decision approach the court. What finally matters is what the Honorable Court holds.
Okay, stay with me.